Hi guys, sorry I'm not there again today. In today's class, we're going to investigate properties of matter as we observe a form of matter change state. As we are working through activity 3.1, I'd like you to be watching the screen and record your observations. What you see on the screen right now is a flask, and in the bottom of the flask, there are menthol flakes. In just a moment, you'll see me turn on the hot plate and we'll watch and see what happens as menthol is heated. Here you can see the crystals of menthol. And after the hot plate was turned on, those crystals changed from one state they started in. You can see it almost looks like they're melting, changing state to the second state of matter. The solid crystals are now almost invisible here at the bottom of the screen. And now we can see that within this flask, there's a cloudiness. And there are 0 solids left in the bottom of the flask. So as I look at the bottom, I see something that looks like a liquid that's clear and colorless. And in the body of the flask, I notice a cloudiness where there wasn't a cloudiness before. Just like in yesterday's video that you watched with air in a bottle, there must have been some air in the flask to start with, but it was not cloudy. It appears as though on the sides of the flask now that you can notice kind of this fogginess again, and notice that the flask is covered on top with which is called a glass watch plate. This watch plate has ice cubes on top, keeping the top of the flask cooler. This coolness at the top and heat at the bottom has caused some condensation on the sides of the flask. Condensation is when the gas form of a substance turns back into a liquid. The coolness at the top and the heat at the bottom is going to change what was once a solid that was heated into a liquid, heated hot enough to turn into a gas. That coolness at the top is going to change that gas back into first a liquid, condensation, and then a solid. As we're watching the sides of this flask, notice that where it was once cloudy, you can start to see little specks of crystals reforming. These crystals do not look the same as the crystals that were in the bottom of the flask. The crystals at the bottom of the flask were long and kind of pointy shaped. But what's forming on the sides of the glass almost looks like snowflakes. Let's keep watching for a bit and see what happens. So we can understand a little bit about temperature and how temperature can cause phase change or change in state of matter. We had heat at the bottom, changing a solid. We have cool at the top, changing a gas. It's a little fuzzy in that focus area, but you can still see on the sides of the glass, the crystals are beginning to grow larger. And what was once just a cloudy gas on the inside of this flask is now becoming solid crystals on the sides of the container where condensation first formed and now has cooled off. So in this demonstration, we have noticed that matter can change phase or state, and that a changing state of matter is due to the amount of energy in matter. The energy that went into matter at the beginning was heat, changing the solid at the bottom of the flask into first a liquid and then a gas, And then that heat energy was transferred to the ice cubes. And as those ice cubes melted on the top, the temperature change at the top caused condensation and then refreezing. We're going to take a look at a couple pictures of what happened to the bottom of that watch glass next. On the bottom of the watch glass, you can see that the condensation that had formed inside the flask reformed into a solid crystal on the bottom. We picked up that glass watch plate after the whole experiment was done, and there were very fine crystals here. They don't have the same shape because they formed in a different way. They formed much faster, therefore having smaller crystals. But these crystals, if we were to look at them at the molecule level, we would notice that they are the same as the crystals that we started with. That is the demonstration for activity 3.1.